Hello, my name is Karina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everyone. It's Karina from Break Fear, Find Freedom. And I'm just wondering what you think of crypto and NFTs, because today we have the awesome Paul Cohen, and we're talking all crypto, NFT, fear, freedom, so many exciting things. Hello, Paul. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good, thank you, Paul.
You said you've been out in the sun.
I know, right? I'm in San Diego. The weather's beautiful. The sky there's not even one little bit of clouds in the sky. So I have to go out and walk in the sun. Otherwise, I don't know, I'll just get depressed behind the computer the whole day.
Yeah, not so sunny here. I'm in the UK. I just went out for a short walk to get my hair cut for the quick call today.
Oh yeah, so you don't have much sun there, right?
No, we do occasionally. The other day we had a nice sunny day and went out for a nice bike ride. But yeah, we have a lot of grey days. We're not quite in summer yet, so it's we're just coming out of winter.
I know. I've got one of my guests and a friend of mine. She lives also in the UK, and she always gets depressed. She says, "You know what? I get so depressed." She obviously suffers from affective disorder, right? Because it's so dark and gloomy, and so it's interesting.
They say in Sweden, don't they, where they have like 24 hours of darkness, and I think they've got the highest level of suicides in Sweden. It's sort of commonly seen as like a sort of very healthy and place like that, but yeah, I think it does affect you, the dark and that sort of thing.
Yes.
You can buy Lux lights. I've got a big light here, which and you can get these lights which are supposed to simulate daytime, which might help.
Oh, yes. That's what they say. It's true. It's amazing how we come back to environment and how it influences our lives. We don't realize it. So tell me a bit, Paul, how did you get into crypto and NFTs? Or maybe, no, wait, hang on. Maybe we should start and say, what is it? What's all the fuss about?
So cryptocurrency is a bit of a misnomer. People think with the name currency that it's going to be something to do with money, but most of the cryptocurrencies aren't really currency as in a currency. We have the things called stable coins, which are pegged to something like $1. You have something called Tether. So one of Tether is worth $1. So it's a little bit more like currency. But other things can be all sorts of things. Bitcoin isn't really a currency. You can sometimes use it for spending, but it's not really regarded as such as a currency. And you have all sorts of things that deal with things like gaming. You have gaming coins, and you have ones to do with DeFi, which is Decentralized Finance, which I'm sure we'll come on to later. You can see behind me there's a whole load of different pictures which are different currencies, and people might think it's a physical thing that you can hold in your hand, but a Bitcoin is not really something you would hold and spend and that sort of thing. Even though you might see pictures of coins which are Bitcoin, they're not actually a physical object, they're all digital.
Yes. So now, how did you get into all this cryptocurrency? I mean, I know it's very exciting, but how did you get into it? How did you start? What made you think, hey, you know what, I want to learn more about this?
Well, funnily enough, I went to a talk. This was in 2014, I think it was, and he was talking about Bitcoin. And I did start to look into it, and I read a bit, but I didn't actually invest at that time. It wasn't until 2017 I first got started, and I bought on eToro. I bought some coins. I bought one called XRP, which is also called Ripple, which is to do with banking. A one called Litecoin, which is supposed to be a faster version of Bitcoin. And those sort of suddenly went up. So I think within a couple of weeks, they'd gone up 200%. And So that's what got me excited. I got in with my friend. We both had a little play with it, and then we sort of got hooked from that point. And just from my friend couldn't believe it. Suddenly we were making this much money within a couple of weeks. So it wasn't like a huge amount of the time. We just put in I think I put in £500 to start with, and then before long I was putting in like a few thousand to get started, and that went up quite well. So yeah, and then I started researching and learning a lot more about it. So my usual thing is when I get interested in something, I go in quite deep and I learn all about it. I watch the YouTube videos and the podcasts and read books and all that sort of thing.
Yes. We've experienced that. We've got I'll link it to the bottom. Remember, we've got a really good episode on procrastination that we spoke about, but that's something else.
Yeah.
So now crypto, there's so much. I mean, when you think of crypto, when I think of crypto, I think of Bitcoin and now Ethereum or whatever, but there's so many of them, and there's Dogecoin. And how do you even navigate all this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are the most well-known ones. Bitcoin is a bit like the standard. Most people might not have heard of cryptocurrency, but they've heard of Bitcoin.
Yes.
That's been around the longest time. So it was the first cryptocurrency, and it solved the problem which had existed for a long time, which is called the double spend problem. So they managed to solve this problem, and it's become quite well known. And then, like you say, there's tens of thousands of coins, and there's new ones being created every day. So it's like all sorts of weird and wonderful names of coins. Most of them don't really go anywhere. Most of them are a waste of time, and you're not really going to make a lot of money off them. You might make temporarily some money. So I get a few newsletters which I read, which give me information about that, and I also listen to podcasts, and I'm in various membership sites. So that's the way I try to keep up to date with all different cryptocurrencies, finding out what's out there. So you're reading about it, listening about it, reading newsletters, watching videos, and just trying to sort the wheat from the chaff. Try to sort out what looks like a good thing for me. And that comes down to how the team are the team good? Does it have a good reason for being around? And also there's various different things. They're called tokenomics. So you look at all the different aspects of a coin. You can also do something called technical analysis. You can look at charts and see how that is. So I know a little bit about that, but I'm not an expert at technical analysis.
Well, it sounds very complicated. So just to go back, can you just tell us why Bitcoin was invented? So who created Bitcoin? I know it's someone we don't really know, but what was it? What's his name? Okay, I'll let you tell us. And why did he do it?
So Satoshi Nakamoto is the name of the person who's regarded as being the creator of Bitcoin, and people don't really know who it is. Is it one person? Is it a group of people? Is it male? Is it female? I mean, Satoshi is just a nickname. Lots of cryptocurrencies have anonymous founders or people who are anonymous within the teams, and this person is chosen to be anonymous. There was someone called Craig Wright who said he was Satoshi Nakamoto, and he was able to win a court case to do that, but most people don't think he's Satoshi Nakamoto. He may have been involved in the early days, but he saw what was happening with the financial crisis. So around 2008, we had a financial crisis where all of this stuff was going on, where they were playing around with property, and they were being rated as AAA, whereas really they were junk bonds. Basically, they were called collateralized debt obligations, CDOs. We saw how that was a big house of cards that came tumbling down. That's not the only thing. There's all sorts of problems with the banks, where you might have heard where they were making up accounts at Wells Fargo, and all sorts of fines for all sorts of misbehavior. And the idea of Bitcoin is you don't need these middlemen, these third parties. So that's the idea behind cryptocurrency. And it had been difficult for a long time. They've been trying to work out this problem, which is basically you didn't want to have it so two people can spend the same amount of money. And that's the main thing he managed to solve. And then also you need some way to secure the network, and that's done in Bitcoin through mining. And mining, it sounds like there's people going down in the mines with their hard hats and that sort of thing, but it's not that at all, really. It's computers that are solving lots of complicated equations, and the one that solves it gets the Bitcoin. So you have all these in the early days it was easier to solve, and then throughout time it gets harder and harder,
Yes.
and it becomes more complex. So in the early days, like, you could solve it with your standard computer, and there's people just mining with the standard desktop. But now it's specialized computers, and you have these big mining farms where they have tons of these very specific computers which are solving these problems, and they get like a Bitcoin if they solve it. So the Bitcoin at the moment is worth, I don't know exact price, it's probably around 40,000, somewhere around 45,000. So they'd get one of those if they solve these calculations. And then it's also got mechanisms inside it which stop it from getting too deflationary. So they have these halving periods every 4 years. That makes it twice as hard to solve these problems. And then also it's a fixed amount. So the problem we have with the monetary supply is it used to be on the gold standard, which meant it was a fixed amount which could be spent. But now you have all this spending, this money printing, which they keep printing more and more money. So that means the value of your money gets less and less. So it doesn't go as far. So that's another reason is for Bitcoin is it's a standard amount. It's always going to be fixed at that amount. So it just means that supply and demand means that it's going to go up in value over time.
I love this. And then, of course, then you've got the blockchain. We can't talk about Bitcoin without blockchain, right? Just how does it work? And then, how does it work? How does the blockchain link to Bitcoin? I think maybe that's a better question.
So blockchain is a database. So in most systems, you have databases, but the difference between the blockchain is that it's an open standard. So it means that it's a peer-to-peer database. So everyone who is being involved on this network, they all have a copy of this database, and you can also track. So you can see all the transactions on that database, and as it grows, it's kept as this big ledger. So it's a bit like if you imagine a ledger where you're keeping track of your spending. All of that, but it's all open. It's all open, and everyone has a copy of it. So it means it's open sourced. It just means any one node could go down. It's not going to make a difference. A bit like the internet. No, it doesn't matter if one internet connection site goes down or if your computer goes down. The whole thing still works. So with it being peer-to-peer, it just means it's a lot more secure. And then they use these mining to secure those transactions. So that means that so far it's been going since for over 10 years, and it hasn't been hacked. There's been a couple of sort of near misses, but so far it's been very standard. And the bigger it gets, the more secure it becomes.
So it's so exciting because that means that you've got the solid off. I mean, because obviously it's off the mainstream, right? For the want of a better word, as opposed to the banks. So you're having this conflict, right, within the economic system. What does that mean?
What does the conflict mean?
What does it mean to us as for the future? What does it mean? And can we all just go into crypto as opposed and get away from the secrets of the banks, because this is an open, more collaborative system, right?
Well, the advantage is it does allow you to be the bank. You can have. I've got a little ledger here, which is like a little hardware device, and all of most of my cryptocurrency is stored on this little device. And there's also a thing called Decentralized Finance, which allows people to have no middleman, and it sort of cuts out all of you have the big exchange, which is also an example of a middleman. Things like Binance and Coinbase and all of these other exchanges. They're also something which is a middleman, whereas the decentralized finance allows you and me can become people who provide liquidity into that system. So instead of a system like Coinbase where you'd have market makers who have to provide liquidity, you have you and me are incentivized to provide liquidity. And it just means you can have it without having to have these third parties involved, and it just makes it censorship resistant. So it just means one country can try and shut it down, but not all countries can shut it down. And even if they do shut it down, all it is a string of data. So we just need some way to convey that. So we could send it via email or text message or via chat, or you could embed it in a picture. So you can't really shut it down. Once it's out of the bag, you can't properly shut it down, So, and so it does allow some of this freedom, because lots of people aren't happy with the banks, and we get these tiny amounts of interest for our savings, and then they go off and spend that money. So we get like 0.01% in a standards account or something like that. Yes. And cryptocurrency, you can earn a lot better interest, because you don't have this middleman, and it's not sort of taking advantage of you. Lots of the case, it's in a way that's sort of a bit more fairer to the everyday people getting involved.
Yes, I love that. But I think but there's been a lot of talk about, there's always fear surrounding it. And there's always the naysayers that say, oh, cryptocurrency is a fad or whatever it is. Mm. How do you deal with that? I mean, surely you had fear around cryptocurrency, as in, what happens if I lose all my money? Or does it go further than that?
Well, it is quite volatile. It's quite a small market compared to things like bonds and stocks and shares and all that sort of thing. And it's a good analogy I like to use, which is if you think about a big cruise liner on the ocean. So that's the example of stocks. It's very stable because it's very large, and so it takes a really huge wave to push it about. But cryptocurrency is a lot smaller, so if you think about like a dinghy on the ocean, then it's easily moved about. So that means we've just recently had this big 40% drop in the market, and you won't see it in stock markets because it's a lot bigger. But the advantage of volatility, it does allow you to have these bigger gains. You might get an average of 10% on the stock markets, but you can get a lot better returns on the crypto exchanges. So there is some danger. So it's not something where you should go all into cryptocurrency, but I think it should be a part of most people's investment strategy, is having some investments in there. And if you have a look at how it's compared against things like gold or bonds or stocks, and if you look at it over any 3-year period, it's outperformed. Bitcoin's outperformed. And if you look at the value of Bitcoin versus the US dollar, the US dollar's going down and the Bitcoin's going up. Yes. So it's over a period of time. So there's a guy called Michael Saylor, and he says it should be a 4-year time period. So like in 1 year, it can go up and down quite a lot, but over a 4-year period, it's as long. And you can also do a thing called dollar cost average, which means you're regularly putting in, say, every month or every 2 weeks, you're putting in a little bit. So if the market's going down, you can buy more for your amount. So if it goes from 40 to 20,000, you buy twice as much Bitcoin for that amount. So that's called dollar cost averaging. It just means that over time you will do fairly well. But my friend, I'm not sure he's cut out for Bitcoin, because he gets stressed out about it all, about whenever the market's dropping, he's calling on the phone and getting stressed out. But I don't worry about it too much. He's like checking his phone like every hour or something like that. But yeah, it's you don't want to worry about it too much. We just had this big dip, but I'm not too worried, because I know in the future that Bitcoin's likely to be $1 million per Bitcoin. So yeah, say in 5 years' time, it might be $1 million per Bitcoin. So yeah, where we are now, if it's 40,000, it's like the dips at this amount. So if it goes from 40 to 20,000, it doesn't really matter too much, because you just think in the future it's going to go to a higher amount. And lots of people are worried about like the US shutting it down or something like that. And there are regulations they're putting in place which can cause a little bit of difficulty. So yeah, that's why the coin's gone down recently, because the Fed have been talking about trying to reduce interest and things like that. So that has a negative impact on Bitcoin. But I don't think they're going to ban it, because it's just going to allow all of this innovation. If they ban it like China has, it just stops all the innovation, just goes to another country. Because it's like, unless all countries decide to join together to do it, which they're not going to do, because certain countries, they're going to benefit from it. You might have heard about countries that are now making it one of their default currencies, that sort of thing, in places like I think more and more countries will start to do that. They'll start to use cryptocurrency as one of their main currencies.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah,
it's very exciting. So I think for the faint-hearted, or if you're very anxious, maybe you shouldn't put too much emphasis on cryptocurrency, right? Because you can't also watch it every single day, because it will drive you insane.
There's there's people like me who are a bit more laid back. If you're a bit stressed about things, if you like I tend to think about it a bit like a pension. Most people put money in a pension and they're not checking it every day. They might check it once a year when they get a statement. You want to treat it a bit more like that. It's you don't want to be trading it in and out most of the time. It's like traders tend to lose money, but you want to buy and hold. And if you got people who know a little bit more about technical analysis, they might be able to tell you good times to get in and out and that sort of thing. But as long as you're dollar cost average, that's quite a good way. But if you want something a bit safer, so say if you've got money in the bank at the moment, you've got 20,000 just sitting in the bank earning you hardly anything, you can convert that to a thing called stable coins. So you can convert it to something that's backed by US dollars or backed by gold. And then you can also earn interest on that. So you can do something called staking, and you can earn about 10% per year. So whereas in the bank you'd earn 0.1%, you could earn 10% off the same amount of money. And it's quite stable because it's backed by gold. It's not going up and down. It's like one amount of tether is worth one amount of dollar, or there's one called USDC, which is Coinbase's one. There's one called DAI, and there's also ones backed by other currencies. And like I said, there's one's backed by gold. So if you want to back by gold, you can do that. And then you also have these things called synthetic stocks, which are, you can have a cryptocurrency, which is the same as, say, Tesla. So it's something called synthetic. So you can have a synthetic Tesla stock. So there's certain advantages of that as well as disadvantages and advantages. The advantage is you can stake this money and earn interest. The disadvantage, you don't get dividends when you've got a synthetic stock. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that would make sense. You mentioned something about staking. What exactly is that?
So staking is a way so basically you're lending out your money. So where you've got your money in your bank, you're earning a bit of interest on it because they're using that money to go off and do stuff with it.
Yeah.
In the same way you can stake on these platforms. So there's various platforms that allow you to stake cryptocurrencies, but you're going to get a better return. So there's also something called liquidity pools. Liquidity pools allow you to provide liquidity in these decentralized finance systems. Because in things like the stock market and other things, you have these market makers. So what they've done is they've incentivized you to go in and provide liquidity into systems. So you provide these pairs, and the advantage of that is you can earn the more they need your money, the more they're going to pay you. So if you've got something where you got a lot of money already in there, you're going to get a lower interest rate. But it's something where and those more stable ones, you're not going to earn as much interest, but they're more safe. And those which are more risky, you're going to get an interest. So it's like you have to weigh up the two. Sometimes it's better. You can get if the coin goes up and down a lot, then you can be better just holding the money. But something like a stable coin, you can do a liquidity pool on that. You could have two stable coins, and you're providing 50% into both of those. Mm-hmm. And the same, you could stake into these stable coins. So yeah, that's the two different ways of making money.
That's so exciting. I want to go back. You mentioned DeFi earlier. I know this has become quite a buzzword now, right? So what exactly is it? Explain the concept. Yeah. What is DeFi?
Yeah. So decentralized finance is where basically decentralization is where you don't have a central body. So a central body would be, in the case of your bank, it's obviously you've got your Lloyds or your Wells Fargo, whatever it is. In the case of cryptocurrency, it's the exchanges. So it might be eToro or Binance or Coinbase. Mm-hmm. And they provide the services, so you can basically put your money into there. You can get your US dollars into the system, and then you can convert it into coins, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they're called centralized finance, CFI, and then decentralized finance. They don't have a centralized body like this. They have systems that work on things called smart contracts. So it doesn't require a middleman. So in the case of, like I was saying, you could have, for example, I could provide liquidity into a pair. So you have, say if it was XRP, which is Ripple, and Ethereum, you provide 50% and 50%, and then it allows people to be able to trade that pair, so Ethereum and Ripple, on this system. Yes. And it's done via smart contracts, so you're going to be paid out a certain amount of interest, and then the exchange itself earns interest as well. But it's all done without a centralized body. And they also have these things called governance tokens, and you have governance, which is you can buy this governance token, which allows you to have a say in how things operate. So you can be part of the. It's a bit like if you had, if you'll put money into a pot and then it allowed you to vote on. I suppose a little bit like where you're a stockholder, you can have a little bit of a say. If you own 55% of a stock of a company, you've got a big say in what happens in that company.
Right.
And with cryptocurrency, you have these projects which allow governance, so you allow people to vote within the system as well. So it allows it, so it's not So with banks, obviously, that they're just within their own little thing. They do have their stockholders which have to try and keep happy, but most of the time it's it's done with this sort of centralized things. Lots of things are going on which the board aren't really. The board might know about, but the shareholders may not know about, like this dodgy stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, at least we know that this is open, right? People can just go onto the blockchain and just check out all the transactions, whereas you can't do that in a bank, right?
Yeah, so most coins are that way. You do have these privacy coins which are more restricted, so you can't see, like if you go on something like Monero, you wouldn't be able to see all of my transactions on Monero. So they're sort of privacy type coins, but most of them, yeah, it's on the blockchain and you can see what's happened. So if you buy something on the blockchain, then you get this thing, you have a scan which shows you all of the fees, and you can sort of just record back exactly what's happened. It's all on there. I can share it with my friend. He can see all of the transactions I've made and that sort of thing. And you have these companies which do chain analysis, so they can find out about sort of people who are criminals and they're involved in the blockchain. There was just recently they basically caught these people who had stolen, I think it was something like 14 billion they stole from an exchange called Bitfinex. And they were able to track that down. So it was all held on this, I think it was in Finland or Sweden or somewhere like that. And it was all held in plain text, and they were able to recover all of this money. So
wow. That's exciting. So, I mean, sorry, we always know as technology and as things get better and better, the criminals become more and more, they're more clever and more intelligent, and they usually game the system. Excuse the pun. But I think maybe this has got them stumped.
Yeah, when there is criminals that take part, and lots of the government try to pin like a crime on cryptocurrency, but when they actually study it, it's very low compared to what's used for actual fiat currency, which is your standard US dollars and euros and pounds. They say that there's traces of cocaine on every dollar and every note in US. So yeah, there's a lot more use for that, but there is some crime going on. You do have to be careful when you're doing cryptocurrency. There's lots of people trying to scam you and take money from you, so you have to be careful, and it's good to look at primers on how you do that. I've had friends who've had stuff stolen from them through tricks and things like that. Yeah, so they can be quite clever sometimes. They can do these phishing attacks and make it look like it's actually your exchange, or you can go to a site and it looks like the official site, but it's not. And sometimes because you're pressured to do something like when you're trying to buy an NFT, you've only got a short amount of time to buy it. So sometimes people are rushing. They're not doing all the checks they would usually do, and they're sort of buying something that's actually worthless. So, yeah.
It's interesting. We're talking about NFTs. You brought that up. For me, it's very exciting. I mean, I don't know much about it, right? But it's just exciting to know that you can do something and you can sell it and it can be there forever, right? It's just immemorialized. I actually, last week, I found a YouTube video, and he was saying how easy it was step by step how to mint an NFT. So that's what I did. So now I've got one NFT. And the funny thing is that, because then they say, okay, put the price. I put 5 Fs, and then it came up $15,000. I thought, oh, that's a bit too much. So it's a great learning experience.
Yeah,
it was fun. But tell me a bit more about NFTs. You suppose you should learn more about it before just jumping in, but I like jumping in and experimenting. But what is all the hype about? And some people are saying that it's a bubble. I mean, I don't think it is, but what are your thoughts? I know that's two questions, sorry.
No worries. So maybe we start first. Yeah, so NFT is a non-fungible token. Fungibility is just a way of saying is something duplicatable. Easy way to think of it as like a £10 note. I can give you a £10 note and you give me a £10 note in exchange, or $10 note. Then that's something called fungible. So it's basically, it's transferable from one to the other. It doesn't matter if you've got I've got £10. But say if you were to have the first £10 note that was ever created, then you wouldn't want to exchange it for just a standard £10 note. That's non-fungible. And that's like these tokens, you might have the same picture, but they're all unique. So they each have a unique code behind them. So they're all on the blockchain, these pictures. And that allows for various different things to happen. So yeah, each one can be separate on the exchange. So lots of time they have a collection of pictures. It might be 10,000 pictures, and each picture might be, they have a certain amount of each picture, and they can randomize different things. They can have like different eyes and different noses, different mouths and things like that. And that's the other thing called profile pictures, which is just a sort of quite a basic version of NFTs. And some of those have taken off quite well. They have these ones called Bored Ape Yacht Club. And some celebrities have bought those. I saw recently there's a guy called Ty Lopez, and he's bought one for 200,000, I think it is, for a giveaway. And there's also ones called CryptoPunks. I saw that a famous model had just bought one of those, and they might go for sort of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then you have lots of, like you say, anyone can mint their own NFTs. So you have all sorts of ones, and people create lots of like similar monkey type ones, and you might have ones where they've reversed things and all sorts of stuff. And so you have the basic ones which are just pictures, and you can also have ones which give you utility. Gary V had ones called V Friends, and they sold quite well, and they gave you access to his marketing events. You could go to there with his event, and he also did something for his books. I think it was one of the top selling book launches. So if you bought a certain amount of books, you also got a free NFT, and those NFTs became quite valuable. And then you have things like gaming NFTs. I've got a game I'm playing at the moment called Pegaxi, and I've got horses which are NFTs. I buy the horse, and then I can breed the horses, and you can sell the horse. You can sell your bred horses and things like that. So those are gaming NFTs. And you have music NFTs. That's a sort of fairly new space where it's quite interesting with music NFTs. You can support your artists which you believe in, and you can buy into their NFTs. So you could buy like a song on an album, for example, and then if that song takes off, then you can make quite good money from there. And then there's like there's sporting type ones. There's NBA Top Shots, where you can buy videos of certain NBA sports, and those have done particularly well. And then you've got so where we are currently is sort of quite early days of NFTs, but I think it's going to be a big industry as we start to tokenize more and more things. And the main thing that NFT solved was the problems with digital artwork, is that someone could just copy the artwork, and there was no way to show ownership really. You couldn't see who owned what. You could just, I've got a JPEG, you've got a JPEG exactly the same. You could just go out all over the place, whereas this allowed you to show who the true owner is. So someone could still go onto you could have it as your profile picture, someone can still go and copy it, but you're the actual person that owns it. So it's a bit like in the real world, you've got a Picasso, you could have a Picasso which is worth a lot, and then you can have someone who's done a clone of it, and it looks exactly the same, but it's not going to be worth the same, because they can go and check that it's a fake, and you have these people who are very good at faking artworks and that sort of stuff. But it just shows you're the real owner of that particular piece. And there was a guy and he wasn't making very much money at all, and now he's got into NFTs, and he's made like hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars from his art. Now he's able to do this sort of stuff. So I guess there's a certain part of it is probably a bubble where you have like a lot of stuff which hasn't got a lot of value is being created, and lots of those, a bit like cryptocurrencies, probably 90% of cryptocurrencies aren't going to go the distance. The same as lots of internet companies around the .com, they didn't survive, but the sort of big ones do. And the same with NFTs. You have these called blue chip NFTs, things like Bored Ape Yacht Club, these Fidenzas. Fidenzas are generative art, so they're created from computers create these like amazing artworks, and it's all done through artificial intelligence, and those are sold, and they've become like really valuable, these ones called fidenzas, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. So yeah, I think NFTs could be used for going to a live event, for example, and it showed that you were there, and say if something unusual happened at that event, you could show you were there at that particular time and that sort of thing. And you could also have perks that come with it. So for example, you could have an album which you buy as an NFT, and then you get like free access to certain things if you got NFT. And you could maybe use things like voting and all sorts of things in the future. So I think it's those sort of stuff will be combined with other technologies, and things like these smart contracts. I think we'll have less and less middlemen in the future. We'll have like things like solicitors. You'll just be able to have it all on a smart contract. You better go like buy a house, rather than at the moment it takes you months to do. You better do it in days, or like, you know, a week or a couple of days, or maybe in hours in the future, you know. So
wow. It's so exciting though, if you think about it, because it's mind-blowing about what you can do with it. I also saw the other day that Johnny Depp's actually also, because who knew that he painted? Yeah. And he's what did he call it? Never Fear Truth. He's called it Never Fear Truth.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting, because I mean, obviously a lot of these celebrities are doing it. We can see the Gary V's, and so I'm excited about that. And what about, because you hear people doing articles, how does the article work? So would you put like, you make an NFT with a page of your article, or would you, how do articles work? I haven't actually seen anything like that.
An article. So I guess you could buy an article. Like I think Playboy are due to get into NFTs. I saw an interview with one of the head guys, and they've got a lot of back catalogue of all sorts of stuff. They got interviews, they've got pictures, and they've got some stuff that's never been released. They've got all these articles and all sorts of stuff. So basically, you could buy it, you be the owner. And then you could do things with it. I know that people have bought YouTube clips. So there's all sorts of famous YouTube clips, like the little boy who had his finger bit that was turned into an NFT. And then there's these other ones as well where these things just blew up and become big viral sensations, and those have sold for quite a lot. And also tweets have sold, so you could sell a tweet. I think Jack Dorsey sold his first tweet. And all sorts of stuff could be sold as things on the internet stuff. Yeah,
I saw that. What did they paid? How much? 3 million or something? It was a crazy amount that they paid for that first tweet. Yes, I saw that as well.
So yeah, I think people are becoming more and more familiar with sort of digital stuff. So you have people playing games like Fortnite's very big, and Minecraft, and people are used to buying things for games. Like you might have played little games on your phone. You buy little things for that give you like extra power ups and things like that. You know, so people are starting to get used to paying for things. And then you have this concept of the metaverse. So in the future, you may have like a house and a garden out in the metaverse and this sort of stuff, and you can visit galleries. So someone could buy photos, put them in their virtual gallery, which is out on the internet, and all sorts of things. Yeah. But
yes, it's just mind-blowing. I know we're doing crypto, but we have to talk about the metaverse just because you brought it up. And it's just tell me a bit about the metaverse. And we know that Facebook recently changed the Facebook to Meta, or whatever they called it. Tell us a bit about the metaverse and how much of this is going to, it's going to affect our world, right? But surely it will also have a big effect on fear, because eventually, how are we going to interact in a real world? Yeah.
So I guess you've got either it could be a dystopia or a utopia. Some people see it different ways. So you have these things which people already know as metaverses. You have things like Grand Theft Auto. You can go around and go and get into cars and drive them around, and you can do tasks and that sort of stuff. That's a metaverse. You can have online people can just go into this world. And then you have things like my son's a big Minecraft fan. So that's an example of a metaverse. It's just somewhere where lots of people can go and gather together. And then it's basically on a progression. So at the moment you have these 3D worlds, and then in the future you'll have virtual reality worlds where you'll be able to go in and if you think about how computer game technology has improved, like when I was a kid, it was Pong and Manic Miner and all sorts of very basic games. And then I was playing a game last night, and the graphics are really amazing. And then they're going to become more and more photorealistic. And then if you think about 10 years in the future, then yeah, you'll be able to go, and it'll be just like walking around in the real world. You'll be able to see wonders of the world, and you'll be able to. It's obviously a virtual world has no limit. You've got no limit like the real world. You have obviously a certain amount of space, but in the virtual world, you could have unlimited amounts of space, basically. So yeah, you could have all sorts of things. You could have gaming environments, and you could go and see sites, and you could have shopping areas. So sometimes some companies are already buying places in the metaverse, which are they're sort of fairly basic at the moment. I'd say the graphics aren't this sort of super ultra realistic. As you think about speed, we had 5G, and then there's going to be, in the future be 10G, and it might be a terabyte per second, and you'll be able to stream this information at high speeds, and you'll be able to have like very lightweight. I don't know if you've seen the Facebook, they have these glasses that look like standard glasses and have the little things, but I think that's all it'd be a form factor that's very easy to wear, and you'd be able to just jump into the metaverse and have meetings, or go for already quite big, I think, in VR is these things where you can go and have keep fit classes. You can have a trainer in front of you, you can work out in that sort of stuff. So you'll have that, and you'll be able to meet people. You could go and I run an escape room. I might have told you in the past, you'd be able to have these escape rooms where you can just have people from around the world could just come, and it'll be just like they're there in front of you in the escape room. And you could have these virtual escape rooms that just change. You could take someone's design from like where you are in you could take an escape game from where you are and just run that in the metaverse, and one from the UK. You can have these top rated games, that sort of stuff, and take part. And you'd also be able to feel things. So you'll have these things with haptic feedback. So you'll be able to touch things and pick them up and turn things, that sort of stuff.
Crazy. It's crazy if you think about it. But again, what will happen to the world? Because already there's a lot of people that just, you know the story of the gamers that are just in front of their computer 24/7. They don't know the real world, right? Their world is that world. I know you're a gamer, right? So I'm just talking from what I've seen and what I've heard. I don't know. Do you have a problem with reality? Do you have a problem where you're thinking, well, I don't really want to go out into the world because, hey, this is more fun. It's safer. I'm behind my computer and I can do all these crazy things. Whereas if I go out into the world, it's real and I have to deal with people. And do you ever get to that point? And
well, I think it could go that way. If I talked a bit before about I play a game and it's called play to earn gaming. So if you can play games, you could do things in this virtual world. You'll be able to you may have a job in the real world, you may have a job in the virtual world, or you may just have a job in either. You may have a job just in the virtual world. There's already people who have jobs like they work for Meta, and they work in these virtual reality environments. So you may have people who work, and you can earn money through doing creative stuff. So some people think we actually are already in a simulation. People like Elon Musk think we're already in simulations. If you get to a certain point where the technology improves, so it's like, just you're already in this computer game and it's being controlled. That's why there's all sorts of computer games. So, I think
the Matrix,
it's interesting to think about. Obviously with some problems at the moment where people get headaches and things from wearing the VR headsets, but I think that will be made a lot better. And I can understand why people may want to live in this virtual world where it's like, they can go and play and see things. And, I think obviously, like you say, kids are more used to playing games than when we were young. The games weren't really good enough to want to play for hours and hours on end. I remember I was programming stuff on the ZX81. I used to program for about an hour. We'd play it for maybe 10 minutes and then we'd start again on a new game.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to see how it goes. But the good thing is at the moment is you can make money through playing games. I'm trying to get my daughter to play this farm game where you can earn money. And I've got 10 horses, which I race and I make money from them. And I've got a team in the Philippines who work for me. So I've got scholars who work for me. I've got 25 scholars in the Philippines who are able to earn money, and some of them are students who earn money for college. Some of them are helping their family out with money for that sort of thing. So it's a new sort of paradigm. It's a new thing that hasn't been around in the past. So it allows people, rather than having to go and work a really hard work, maybe in a sewing factory, 12 hours a day, earning minimum wage like $5 a day, they can play a game all day and earn the same sort of money.
Wow. So that's a good thing. I mean, there's positives and negatives and everything, and that's exciting for a lot of things. Sure, there's just so much. But while you were speaking, I just had a vision of this person. Like, eventually, if you don't, you know what they say: if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Yeah. So what's going to happen to humans in the future? We're just going to be legless, armless things, because you'll just be attached to the computer and nobody does any exercises or anything. And it's not a very exciting world. Sorry, my writer's mind's going crazy.
Yeah, well, you can have like these these little things where you can stand in and you can move about. So you probably have a way to be able to move about, and then you'll be able to have exercise as well. So you'll be able to have exercise classes, and you'll be able to sort of go for a run and that sort of thing. So I think you will. So like I said, it could be a dystopia, it could be a utopia, it could be something where it really improves a lot for people, where once we have more and more sort of jobs are taken by like artificial intelligence and robotics, then if we're able to sort of have more leisure time and we're able to go and enjoy ourselves and do things, and also have more time, it's like the danger is that people sort of take the real world for granted and they just let it go to pot, and it's like, it's so bad out there that, it's just like there's wars have gone on, and there's environmental destruction, and just the environment's shot, then that may be all you've got. So that's the dystopian side. Yes, but it's like, I think with most things, if you can use technology to improve people's lives, like you can use robotics along with humans, and they can work together, then that can be beneficial. And lots of the time people are worried about sort of stuff taking over and this sort of just everything's going to go wrong. But if you think about, lots of the manufacturing came along, and it just meant that lots of the mundane jobs could be taken to the manufacturing sort of just all of that sort of supplies, and they could go off and do other work. And I think that's good. But the danger is that the technology gets that good that it sort of takes away everyone's sort of, like I work in IT. If the computers can just solve their problems themselves, you don't need someone doing IT support, and lawyers and that sort of stuff. Lots of that's now done by artificial intelligence. They can go and research. You can feed it all of this case studies, all of the past precedents, and it can do a better job than humans, that sort of stuff. So
yes.
It's working out a way to get the best of both worlds, really. So that you don't have it where people, they just like, I think it's in Wall-E, isn't it, where they're all just in pods, just really fat, and they're all in this artificial intelligence, just really fat and not doing anything. So that's the downside, is you end up with this dystopian type thing. But I think the technology improve, and you'll be able to move about, and you'll be able to run, you'll be able to do some exercise and that sort of stuff. And it won't take up a huge amount of space. You better do that, and you'll be able to feel things and that sort of stuff. So it could be quite good.
Yes. And as soon as the AI comes in and takes over, humans have to become more and more creative, right? Because I think we've become a very lazy society. Not many people are creative. They just do the same thing every single day and stay inside their comfort zone. Whereas now, if you're forced to get out of your comfort zone, you're forced to think more, you're forced to become creative, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think the danger is all this technology does take away, like, people don't have the time to think, and they're too busy looking at their phone and doing that sort of stuff. They don't just go out for a walk and have nothing on. They just have time to think about things, and I think that's important, is just having the time to do that. I think there's a study I was reading recently where it was boredom actually helps you be more creative. They did a study where they gave someone like something really boring to watch. I think it was like paint drying or someone folding clothes, and then they gave them a creative task, and they did better after being really bored and doing that. So sometimes, you don't always want to be stimulated all the time. You want this time to just go and just think about things, you know. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We don't allow ourselves, because it has become fast paced. Because as soon as you wake up in the morning, you have to, okay, you've got to do your meditation, you've got to have your cold shower, you've got to start my day, you've got to do all these things. And you're just working, and then then you've got to take your. It's become crazy that you always have to be on and on and on, and it becomes exhausting. I'm sure there's a lot of adrenal fatigue out there in the world because of all this cortisol.
I saw this one about where this computer was working out food combinations, and it'd work out sort of weird food combinations that might work, and then the chef would take these ideas and try them out and try different combinations of them, and then it'd like see which ones work. So you might have, the computer might come up with 100 ideas and actually 20 or 30 of them actually work, but it's like I quite like that idea of the combination of the computer working stuff out and then the actual human, taking what they come up with and sort of going out with it and that sort of stuff.
Yes, and try new things. So it is exciting. If we all work together, I mean, it's like everything. If we collaborate, and we collaborate with AI, and we collaborate going back to crypto and NFTs, and we embrace it, and we see how, and we use it for good. Wow, there is no limit, really.
Yeah, I think there's also ways to do learning. So like obviously schools haven't really changed a lot in many years, but you'll be able to use this technology to sort of, you could take someone back to say they're learning about the Tudors, you could take them back and they could be actually you could just create this Tudor environment. They could just go into this room and just go and have a look around and sort of see the figures and that sort of stuff, and there's quite a lot of stuff could be done with education that can make it a lot more interactive and a lot more you're sort of feeling all the senses. So maybe in the future you'll be able to smell things or taste stuff. They'll be able to have some sort of way of I don't know, stimulating your brain or something on your tongue that just stimulates the taste sensors, and you're able to taste like what does mead taste like, or what would the food be like in those days, and you could just have this room where you could just go into and sort of like experience all this different stuff, or see what it's like to be on the space station or something like that,
Yes, I think that's beautiful. Imagine being able to go. I've never been to Versailles. I've always wanted to go to Versailles, for example. So go to Versailles, or go and walk along the Colosseum in Italy, or go to, I don't know, go and watch an opera at the La Scala. That would be exciting, and it would change, because our education system is really so archaic. Everybody's suddenly become on the spectrum or ADD, or because it's not normal to sit for 8 hours, or to sit even for an hour or 40 minutes or whatever, listening to some boring person who has no interest. And I'm not saying, I mean, teachers do a good job and they've got, but we need to change it.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a one size fits all, where you're all sort of, I mean, sometimes obviously it puts people in different groups. You have like just someone like higher grade and someone in the middle and that sort of stuff, but you have some people who you have different expertises. So someone who might be more practical, you don't really have that. So someone who might be a really great mechanic, you should have stuff where they can go off and like play around with cars, or they might be really good at electrics and stuff like that. So there's always different geniuses we have. So it might be like for yourself, you do writing and you do that sort of stuff. So it'd be you could go off and specialize a little bit more into those sort of areas. Even if you go to secondary school, going to A levels, you can choose a little bit more specialized, but still you're not really specializing in one subject, or you're not really getting the expertise. And I think if you've got the right expertise, basically in the future be able to get the top teacher in any field could teach anyone around the world, couldn't they? They could have someone who really makes it entertaining and makes it fun. Like I had a good law lecturer who made it good and fun. We had one who was quite boring, one that was sort of really entertaining, so I made it a lot more interesting. So you could have that, and you could just go into it, and you could have a virtual avatar of someone teaching, and you just have the best practice, the best people in any particular subject teaching, that sort of stuff.
Yes, that is so exciting. Sure, so many things. Okay. So I just wanted to ask you one more question. I know you do escape rooms, right? Have you converted? Because I mean, obviously with COVID now, everything closed up, right? So did you have to close your escape rooms? Have you made them virtual now?
We did make some online versions, so we've got, where I'm based, it's based at a secret nuclear bunker, so we converted those. We made these like 360-degree images, and then we could move around, and you could open things up. So we took one of our physical games and turned that into into a virtual game. We ended up with 3 virtual games. So yeah, I did one based on our team building game. I did one called Black Knight, and then I did one called The Locked Door. So I worked with sort of these experts in building that sort of environment, and you could go around, you can have multiple people playing with multiple machines, so they all connect on and have their own cursor, and you could do that sort of stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, I got some funding for it, but at the time I got the funding and I got it all programmed, then we just started coming out of lockdown, so the timing wasn't ideal. If I'd done it maybe a year earlier, I probably would have done a lot better, but some people did very well with the online games. Yeah. Yeah.
So have you reopened your escape rooms now, or is everything still locked? I mean, if it's really so weird right now with lockdowns, some lockdowns open up, lockdowns.
Yeah, we've been out of lockdown for a while. I think we opened up around July of last year, and then we've just come off having to wear masks. So yeah, they just took that down, that mandate for the UK, and we've got half term coming up next week. So we've got a week where we have more families coming down and that sort of thing. Yeah, so but yeah, I quite like the ideas. There's some I think there's some interesting ideas around NFTs and around virtual gaming, around escape games, that sort of stuff. So probably something I'll explore in the future is something along those lines. I know that Alex Becker and Elio, they did this sort of like online treasure hunt where you had to try and get on the whitelist, and they had all these like little stuff within their videos and little puzzles people had to solve, and then there's people on Discord and Telegram all trying to figure out what it all was, and those have done quite well. I think the floor price, which is the lowest price, is about $50,000, so about over, I think it's maybe 15 ETH or something like that is the floor price. So they've done quite well with their little project, yeah, called Neo Tokyo. I think it's called Neo Tokyo Identities, and they're creating their own game. So yeah, you have these identities used in the game. So I think they seem to know what they're doing in that sort of space. They've got to create their own game development studio, and
wow,
yeah,
it's exciting too.
Yeah.
So Paul, do you think cryptocurrency, NFTs, all the stuff we've been talking about, but mainly crypto and NFT, do you think it'll provide freedom for people?
I think it can do, yeah. I mean, it's provided freedom for me. As you know, I had kidney disease, and yes. I just had 2 transplants, and I was working 3 days a week, and my pension wasn't going to be enough really to give me a very good standard of life. So I started off, as they say, quite low, with $500, $1,000, and then I've grown it since then. I've invested some of my profits from my escape room into it, and I'm up to 6 figures now. And wow. So I think, as I said, I think Bitcoin will go to $1 million at one time. So if, say, Bitcoin was 50,000 now, then it's going to be 20 times that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, say if you only had 10,000 now, it'd be 200,000 sort of in 5 years, something like that. It could be anyway. It's like there's a guy called Plan B, and he's got a thing called the stock to flow model, and lots of people thought it was going to hit 100,000 for Bitcoin last year, but it sort of didn't quite hit it last year. But I think it'll probably hit 100,000 either this year or next year, and then it'll keep going up. So they have these halving periods every 4 years, and usually there's a price rise after that. So they have these up and down periods, bull and bear markets, and then as Bitcoin goes up, the altcoins tend to go up more. So if Bitcoin doubles, then altcoins might go up 3 times or more, some of those. And obviously some coins, I've done some coins that have done over 50 times my investment. So yeah, if you get into the right coins, you can sort of make life-changing gains. So if you put in and it's called it's basically that's the advantage you have. You could put in quite small amounts as part of your portfolio. You might only have it as 5% is crypto, but that 5% can make quite a big difference if you find something that does quite well. And I tend to have a little bit more, but yeah, probably somewhere around sort of 5 to 20% is a good sort of amount of your portfolio. Any one asset class can sort of go all the way to 0. So yeah, it's good not to put all your eggs in one basket. So you can have like stocks, things like gold, precious metals, and then cryptocurrency, properties, quite a good one, bonds, and then things like collectibles. So there's various different ways you can put your money, but it's good to not have it all in one place. Yes. So yeah, I look to probably diversify more in the future. So there's probably a higher proportion for me of crypto at the moment, but yeah. And you're able to get passive income as well. So from my horses at the moment, I've done over 3,000 over the last 10 days,
Wow.
£3,000. I've spent about $12,000, so I've done 3,000, and I'm looking to grow that as well because I can breed. I've bred them twice. I'm going to breed them 3 times, so I should end up with about 14 horses. So yeah, it should bring me in about at least 10,000 a month from those.
Wow.
But then obviously the coins might go down, so it's like, yeah, that's and then the Axie Infinity, I've been doing that for a little while. I've built up my team, and then the price of SLP, which is Smooth Love Token, which is the token you earn in the game, that's just gone up about 4 times. So it's gone from 1 cent to 4 cent, and hopefully it might go somewhere between 5 and 10 cents. And also the price of the Axies have gone up as well. So that's sort of regular money coming in, which is good. And that's I want to try and go at that a little bit more. So I have regular money coming in from various different sources.
Wow. So you can, if you play your game, your coins right, or you can get some financial freedom. It's very exciting. Yeah. Well, can anybody just connect with you? Where are let's see, where's your escape room? You've got game, haven't you? You've created games as well, haven't you? So can people connect with you on your games? Can people play? How does it work?
So my website is www.cluehq Brentwood, CLUEHQ Brentwood, BRENTWOOD.co.uk, and that has my physical escape games. And then you could email me on that address there. I am creating a course which is around an area of cryptocurrency, so I'll probably be doing a sort of beta program where I'll be doing reduced price. So I'll let you know the details. You can add it to the details of this.
To the details, everything will be in the description box.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of sites I'm working on. One to do with a thing called Gala Games. So I've got galagamessalad.com, and I've bought another one to do with Pegaxi. So I've got Pegaxi. I've got a couple of Pegaxi domains as well, which is the horse racing game.
Wow, so many things. Okay, we'll have all the details in the bottom, and then we'll just keep adding or whatever we'll do as it gets more and more exciting. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience before we leave, Paul, about what, I don't know, crypto, NFT?
Anything? We cover various things, yeah. So it was a good roundabout chat about things, and then I do suggest people go out and do some more research. So yeah, just learn a bit about some of these terms. There's a site called Investopedia, which is quite good. You can put in a term, and then if you didn't understand any of the words we use, just put it in there, and it'll tell you what it means. So DeFi, you go into a little bit more. The number one decentralized exchange is called Uniswap, UNISWAP, and you can get registered onto there. And if you wanted to just get started with your first cryptocurrency, you can do things called, you can do virtual trading. So you can have like a virtual, so you can just play around with stuff. You can do it on eToro. I think you can also do it on Binance. So you can just go in there, but I think with eToro you have 100,000 to play around with of virtual money, and then just buy some coins. So you just get familiar, and that's a good way to learn. A few people I like, there's a guy called Andreas Antonopoulos. He's created 3 books, one called The Internet of Money 1, 2 and 3, and that's a good introduction into cryptocurrency, and it's the best bits of some of his various speeches he's done around the world. And there's some good channels. I'm in one called Crypt Nation. I'm a lifer there, so basically they do membership calls every week, and that's quite a good way to get in there. There's a few people who are good at technical analysis, which is studying the charts, and they'll provide information on there. So yeah, there's some good places out there. If you want to learn NFTs, there's a guy called Dante Walker. I'm in his VIP group. He has a free group, and there's another guy called what's his name, NFT Llama, so NFT LLAMA, and he's got again a free and a paid version. I'm in his paid group, so you can get onto whitelists and get involved in NFTs and that sort of stuff. He's got like a various free stuff where you can go in and learn about NFTs. So there's a few resources to try.
Sure, nice. Well, so we'll have all the resources in the description box, so you can just go out and explore, because this is very exciting stuff. There's just no limit now, really. We've got limitless future here. Anything's possible. The only limit is your imagination, really, and your creativity. So let's do this. Let's create some beautiful things. And thank you so much, Paul, for your time. I really appreciated this. I loved this. It was so enlightening, and I've learned so much. And I'm sure the audience has as well. So we'll see you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.